Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the April meeting of the LCTCS Board of Supervisors. Thank you for joining us today. Before we begin, I'd like to remind you that the board meeting is being live streamed. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chair Mount to call the meeting to order.
All right. Good morning, everybody, and we'll call the meeting to order. And we'll ask Supervisor Jackson if he'll lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Sure.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we'll have our roll call. Ms. Computer. Present.
Brandon, my microphone. Supervisor Jackson.
Present.
Supervisor Roman Hardy is absent. Supervisor Ellis Burke is absent. Supervisor Tari Bradford.
Present.
Supervisor Cynthia Butler McIntyre should be walking in the door any second. Supervisor Tim Hardy is present. Supervisor Jennifer Lee is absent. Supervisor Erica McConduit will be here very soon. She is in traffic. Supervisor Mickey Murphy is present. Supervisor Paul Price is absent. Supervisor Stan Salath
Here.
is present. Supervisor Stevie Smith is absent. Supervisor Stevie Toops is absent. Supervisor Matthew Durrett is present. Supervisor Francesca Jimenez is present. Madam Chairwoman, we will have a quorum of the board as soon as one of the two ladies who are in traffic arrive.
Thank you. Our next item is approval of the meeting agenda for April 12th, 2023. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, that motion passes. We also need to approve the meeting minutes from March the 8th, 2023. Are there any corrections or additions? Chair will entertain a motion. All right.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Jackson, second by Mr. Salath.
All right. Is there any objection? Hearing none, that motion passes.
Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to note for the record that Ms. Butler McIntyre is here and was present during that first vote.
Okay, excellent. All right.
And we do have a quorum present now.
All right. And is there any public comment in regards to the?
There's been no request for public comment on any of our modes of
Okay,
communication.
thank you. All right, next is the consent agenda items for consideration of the board.
Sure. Madam Chair, staff recommends that the board approve the consent agenda, which consists of agenda items F1 through F5.
Is there any objection?
Is there a motion?
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion by Mr. Jackson.
Second.
Second by Ms. Bradford.
All right, is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, that motion passes. And now, I have a few comments. First, we'd like to thank Upper Iowa University for providing the thank you note and include a challenge coin for each board member. You should see it at your desk. That's very nice. Also, we want to thank Tim Hardy and Chip Jackson for their participation in the ACCT's Governors Leadership Institute conference a few weeks ago at Delgado Community College. They both did a great job and we appreciate them being involved. With that, Dr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Chair Mount. And the President's report today, once again, is an example of all of the work that is going on across our colleges. Today, we have with us special guests to sign an articulation agreement. We also have an example of a public-private partnership that we'll be able to sort of talk our way through. But before we go there, we have to kick off today's meeting with someone very special who's joined us today, who's come back. And as you know, for those of you that work in the business, when students come back, it always brings a smile to you because you're reminded of where they started and where they are now. We have a young lady with us today who came to us from North Shore Technical Community College, who earned her way as the SGA president at North Shore Technical Community College. And not only did she excel in the classroom, but she also excelled as a leader. I'm going to tell a quick story, and I won't share where this took place, but this young lady, in the midst of a fairly intense discussion about business that relates to this organization, spoke up and said, this is the direction that we as students believe we should go. That's leadership. So Yanis, could not be more proud of you and what you've accomplished since. Come down to the table and tell us a story. I can't wait to hear what you have done. So, and you'll also have to share with the group the year. I try not to remember years because that just reminds me of how old I am. But please tell us more about the great success that you've had since leaving the Board of Supervisors.
Hi, so you'll have to press the button to make the mic go live.
This
There
button?
you go. Yep.
All right. Good morning, everybody. As Monty Sullivan introduced me, my name is Haisa Yantis. I served on the board during 2017 and 2018. It felt like a milestone away since COVID had happened since then. I graduated from North Shore Tech and Community College with a associate's degree then with a 4.0 GPA. And then since then, before I started my speech here, I'd like to first, I'd like to acknowledge my family for helping me to be where I am today. My mom, Katya, my sister, Thais, my amazing husband, Joshua Yantis, and my in-laws, Don and Melina Yantis, who helped me be where I was at that time and who I am today. And of course, thank God for all the doors that he opened for me during this time so far. So a little bit of feedback. I graduated, like I stated, from North Shore Tech in 2018. And then I transferred to Southeastern Louisiana University, where I was, by the time I graduated, I was awarded the highest award of outstanding student in 2021 with my degree in supply chain. During my time there, I actually got 2 internships, one as a buyer intern with Smithy Supply, and then as a management and trainee during my time, my last semester with Kate Native, which is a warehouse company, Belgium company that does warehousing for Shell. So that all happened during COVID, and I was able, thankfully, to award those internships there. Within my last semester at Southeastern, I actually was managed to actually receive 4 offers when I graduated. All of them was with Kate Native, Community Coffee, Coupon Consolidator with an operations, and Martin Brower. All of those offers was somewhere between $45,000 and $60,000, which where I decided where I would go to Community Coffee, a private-owned company, one of the largest coffee company in Louisiana, where I started my journey there as a sourcing specialist. And then within 10 months, I was promoted to a demand planner role, which is a mid-level role within the company, where today I am forecasting and holding meetings with senior managers, directors, and I forecast today 50% of the company's revenue. So within the 6th year, that's a very large development. And then, of course, a lot yet to go. But with all of those great accomplishments, I would like to thank North Shore Tech Community College, Wainwright, and team and staff, and of course, LCTCS staff, instructors, professors, board members for helping me develop the leader and the person that I am today to help me excel and be where I am today. Just a friendly reminder too, 10 years ago, we'll make 10 years in November. I moved to this country with 2 luggages and a dream. Well, what everybody knows is an American dream. Within 2 years, I walked into an NTCC school and I met Lynn Backnell at the time, and she helped me throughout the way and still is my mentor today. I barely spoke English back then. I was just, an immigrant that, didn't have a whole lot, but did had a dream. And then to be able to be back today and share this with you guys, I just want to thank you all for the job that you do, the inspiration that you guys give me. And, when I think of a community college, when I think about North Shore Tech and Community College, when I think about LCTCS, I feel like, when NASA is about to send the man to the moon, you got to have that launch pad, that those people behind there that helped you build to launch that ship. So What I feel today is North Shore and LCTCS gave me that launch pad to continue to be successful in my career. And the journey has just begun. I still inspired, and I will continue to further my education, hopefully through a master's degree. Thank you guys. This has been a wonderful 6-year journey. A lot of hard work, a lot of perseverance, but I could have not done at the beginning at the community college level to start my journey there. And you guys for believing in me, helping me, even if some of you guys, I didn't get to speak, I observe your leadership, observe your posture and everything that I was able to learn. So with that, thank you guys. It's been a pleasure to be back. Yeah.
I will turn to board members and ask if you have any questions so that I don't blubber on too much here, okay? Questions from the board or comments from the board?
Well, I do want to say that's an awesome story.
Yes, without a doubt, an incredible story. I want you to think about a 10-year journey. Where were you 10 years ago? This young lady came to this country with not much. And today she's living the American dream. And I'm convinced Community Coffee, I don't know who the CEO is, but they better watch out. This young lady, she's going to be leading something. And I'm not sure that you're going to stop the moon. Just very proud of you.
Yeah.
All right.
Likewise, I'll just comment, wow, it's just a wow factor. And what a great witness you are for our current students and future students as well. So thank you so much.
Can't help but also comment on just the embrace between this chancellor and that professional, former student of North Shore, and probably always will be a student, but it tells you a bit about the connection between students and these institutions. So again, thank you so much for coming back and joining us today. And we'll certainly be glad to write a note to your boss, making sure they know you were here promoting community coffee today, right? Oh, wait a minute. That is right. Very good. All right. If we can, I'd like to shift gears just a little bit. We have just several special guests with us today, and I want to begin by thanking our university partners who create pathways for our students. I will never forget, as a young vice chancellor of academic affairs at Louisiana Delta, the first university that reached out to us was Northwestern State University. The very first institution that reached out to say, we want to help support the growth and development of Louisiana Delta Community College was Northwestern State University. And here we are 20 plus years later, Mr. President. We are here to talk about how we improve relationships between our institutions to ensure that our students are able to succeed in achieving that baccalaureate degree, just like we heard at Southeastern, right? So with that, if you'll bear with me for a second, I want to make a couple of introductions. I'd like to introduce to the board, and I want to say this in a way it's a little bit belated, but I certainly want to congratulate President Marcus Jones from Northwestern State University. You've been an incredible partner and friend to this organization over the years in all of the roles that you have held. Dr. Greg Handel is with us, as well as Dr. Mary Stacy. And you're joining us for the LCTCS Northwestern State University College of Business and Technology Articulation Agreement signing. So these are agreements that are not institution to institution, but rather institution and program. This gives the student a much better sense of exactly what credits they're going to be able to apply. In addition to that, we also have a second agreement with Northwestern State University that Dr. Joel Hicks is joining us for. This is between LCTCS colleges, the Northwestern State University College of Nursing. It is specifically a Bachelor of Applied Science in Allied Health. Dr. Hicks and Dr. Palermo have worked very closely together, given the healthcare workforce challenges that we have faced. It is an incredibly important time for us to come together and ensure that we're doing the good work on behalf of students. With that, I would like to ask Dr. Jones if you would like to come forward and make a few comments, and then we will do a signing. Dr. Jones, welcome. And I have to admit, there may be an alum or two on this dais today that I want to just make sure we don't miss. I see some demon signs over there in the corner. I don't know what to think about that, but I
It's
know there's a
always-
Mickey Murphy here somewhere. There he is.
It's always great to have demons in the building. So Board of Supervisors, thank you for giving me a moment to address you and Dr. Sullivan. What you said about creating pathways is what Northwestern has always been about. And it's always wonderful when we have the opportunity to partner with you and other institutions on creating those pathways. Today, as you mentioned, we have Dr. Joel Hicks and Dr. Mary Edith Stacy. Both are deans of the College of Nursing and Allied Health and College of Business and Technology. These types of agreements are important for us, and it's important for the state of Louisiana for our students to be able to go into a 4-year degree program and graduate and be productive citizens. So thank you for partnering with us on this, and we look forward to future partnerships.
Very good. Any questions or comments from the board before we sign a document? I want to acknowledge great work and by the team internally, but Dr. Palermo, this has been an ongoing relationship for a number of years, even though, you know, Dr. Jones, you did take one of our employees recently, and I saw her in the audience there a second ago. I'm looking, there she is in the back, but I'll tell you this, we trained her well. I will assure you this, she is one darn good employee, and thank you for all of the work that you did on behalf of LCTCS students. And what I love is you're still working on behalf of those students. So thank you for that work.
And Dr. Palermo has been great. Of course, Lori Morrow, who is on our staff, she is probably one of the best hires that I've been able to make. And it's always good to have a great team that's comprised of Dr. Hicks and Dr. Stacy, because they're always forward thinking and looking at ways that we can partner.
Excellent. Very good. Let's sign a document. Would you like to join?
Cindy, they need you for the photo. Yeah. And Lori, they need you for the photo. Susie, they need you for the photo. Y'all can walk faster.
Thank you again to our partners at Northwestern State. And also want to just share with the board very briefly, you see a number of these agreements being signed. One of the things that we're working to do is to ensure that as we sign those agreements, that there's a really strong data element to it so that we understand what is happening to our students as a result. Where did we start and where are we now as a result of the agreements that you've seen signed? So we look forward to coming back to you in a few months with a series of data that will help you to understand as a part of the board development session to help you to see the improvements that have happened in our transfer world. So again, thank you to our friends from Northwestern State. All right, moving on now to the next item is a public-private partnership that is included as a part of today's agenda. But I would like to ask if we can, a gentleman that is no stranger to this organization, Mr. Jim Tucker, who's CEO of ComCare, will be joining us at the table with Dr. Larissa Littleton-Staub. It is yet another opportunity for us to demonstrate the incredible relationship between our colleges and the major healthcare organizations from across the state of Louisiana. Not only are we featuring in this discussion a specific request of the board for a specific personnel item, for a specific facilities item, but it also speaks to a broader statewide footprint that ComCare has that matches quite nicely with the 12 colleges across the state of Louisiana. And so as this organization continues to hire and to ramp up and provide the workforce in the healthcare space, our colleges are critical to the future success of ComCare. And so with that, I'd like to turn to Chancellor Larissa Littleton-Staub, who, by the way, this past Wednesday had just an incredible event at Delgado with a ribbon cutting of the brand new healthcare facility. So Chancellor, I'll turn to you.
The button.
Never get the button right every time.
Bring
you
it close.
come. And move it closer. Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, President Sullivan. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It is indeed my pleasure and my honor to be sitting here next to Mr. Jim Tucker, who's the president and CEO of ComCare Corp. We have an exciting opportunity to collaborate, consolidate, and transform the Jefferson site through sale, lease, or transfer. We have an opportunity to revitalize that community in ways in which it's never been revitalized before. We have an opportunity to broaden the training and the scope of work that we do each and every day. But most importantly, ComCare is no stranger to the LCTCS system, and it is because of that groundwork that was laid by my colleagues, North Shore Technical, that ComCare understands the value of LTCS and reached out to Delgado to further strengthen a relationship and a partnership. So with that being said, I am going to turn it over to the president and CEO of ComCare Corp.
Thank you so much, and good to see so many of you again who I know. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jim Tucker. I'm President and CEO of ComCare Management Corporation. ComCare is the largest not-for-profit nursing home operator in the state of Louisiana. We have 15 facilities across the entire state. We have replaced 8 of our facilities beginning in 2016 with national best practice physical plant models, which include private rooms and private baths for all facility patients, and a household model, which is less institutional in its feel and brings about just a completely different experience for our patients in long-term care. And really, long-term care in our world is almost a misnomer today. The nursing home business is not your grandmother's nursing home. Today, in many of our facilities, particularly on the North Shore, nearly half of our patients go home. And so we are doing more and more therapies on location for short-term stay Medicare and Medicaid patients who then turn around and go home because the cost of service to provide those therapies in our setting is less expensive than it is in the acute setting at the hospital. And so our business has radically been changing over the years, and we have been growing over the years to have a statewide footprint, and we flat could not have done it but for our relationship with a number of the LCTCS facilities and institutions across the state. If I go to naming them, I'm going to forget somebody, but let's just say it's just about all of them. We've done something, either direct training or worked with creating new programs. I will mention Wendy Palermo, who's been just awesome for us, but everybody has that we've worked with. And we've made investments with LCTCS. ComCare made a $30,000 investment in a computer system, I believe, at Delta several years ago when that was needed. And so we've had a great partnership going back many, many years. But this is going to take it to a completely different level, assuming you all approve when we get to the point that we require approval. Today, we just wanted to come and make note of what we are working on and attempting to accomplish over the next several months. ComCare acquired St. Anthony's Nursing Home on Airline Highway, which is not far from the existing Delgado campus. It's in a building that was, I don't know what its original purpose was, but it's over 60 years old, and we bought it particularly for the license so that we could then go to find a new location and build this national best practice model in the East Jefferson market. We have looked high and low, and we've been fortunate enough as we have been working with Delgado and with President Sullivan, President or Chancellor, I can't remember the president, Monty, when we were with Monty. Right. We've come to the conclusion that the best opportunity for us is to work with you all in the location that you all are closing down there on Airline Highway. Delgado is closing down Airline Highway. Take that property and convert it into one of our national best practice model facilities, but also we intend to negotiate and discuss building classroom and clinical space there for Delgado. So we intend to brand the facility, the St. Anthony's Community Care Center, but we're also going to brand it as the Delgado Post-Acute Care Training Center, where we will be leading training for Delgado students of a number of different programs, from CNAs to LPNs to RNs to techs to mechanics, you name it. We're going to be working with Delgado to have training on that location. And then further also expand our relationship with all of the LCTCS colleges to take advantage of our facilities in bringing more training expertise and opportunities for the students in our long-term care facilities. So this project in East Jefferson is, it's going to change post-acute care in East Jefferson, as it has in the other 7 facilities we've already replaced across this state, and will provide higher quality care. No question about that. From an infection control perspective, for instance, during COVID, our experience has been significantly better in the private room facilities where transmission is just less likely to happen. And so we've had far fewer cases and far fewer deaths, and just really the whole experience, as bad as COVID has been, at least in that part of the world, has been a little better than it has been in other parts of the world. So we're excited, and we will be coming back to you all, but we wanted to come today to announce because it's there's a lot of work to be done. But we are looking forward to a very, very robust long-term relationship with all of our community college partners, and Delgado will be leading the way in a new phase of this relationship, and we're very thankful for that. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions. And again, thank you all for having us today.
Thank you very much, Chancellor and Mr. Tucker. Any questions from board members or comments, thoughts? Hearing none, I would like to ask, just as a point of privilege, if we could pull item I-6 from the facilities agenda for consideration, if there's no objection from the board. And I'm glad to read that recommendation. If you would bear with me briefly here. Recommendation reads, staff recommends that the board authorize the president and chancellor of Delgado Community College to complete all of the requirements necessary to transform the Delgado Community College Jefferson site located at 5200 Blair Drive in Metairie through sale, lease, or transfer. Conveyance documents for the sale or transfer of this property must be filed with the local clerk of court and the state land office. You've heard the recommendation.
Are there any questions?
Is there a
Yep.
motion? A motion by Ms. McConduit, second by Ms. Butler.
All right, is there any comments? All right. Any objection? Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. As is customary, we from time to time have an opportunity to have with us a large group of folks who represent each of our 12 colleges and a number of different partner organizations. Today, we have with us the graduating class of the Certified Workforce Developer program that we're running. Would you please stand up and be recognized? I'd just like to call out Danny McConnell and Mark Bond, who were the leaders of this class for the year, and really just appreciate all the great work that you have done leading this group of leaders. I would just say one more time, you've heard me say it before, the Certified Workforce Developer class has become the place where we grow leaders of our colleges. And so we're excited to have each one of you in this class. I can't wait to spend a little bit of time with you guys later on this afternoon. Be ready. We're going to have fun. So thank you guys. Very much appreciated. All right. Just very quickly, a quick update. Tomorrow, we will be in-house appropriations beginning at 9 a.m. talking about budget along with the rest of the higher education leadership. So I would encourage you to tune in for that one. And if we can, I'd like now to turn to a quick update on Skills USA. Just this past week, our friends at Central Louisiana Technical Community College, who, by the way, are in the middle of a SACS visit, they hosted the Skills USA competition last week. So last week was Skills, this week is SACS. I don't know what they got going on next week, but I hope it's rest, right? So with that, I'd like to ask Chandler LaBeouf to come forward and talk a bit about the great work that went on this year as a part of the Skills USA state competition. And perhaps at the very end, we have a special acknowledgement that we would like to pause on. So if you don't mind, Chandler, we'll work through this one and be able to make that special announcement at the end.
Great, thank you. Well, good morning, Chair Mount, members of the board, Dr. Sullivan. I'd like to give a quick update just on the 2023 Skills USA competition that did happen this past week in Alexandria. And again, thank you to our host, Central Louisiana Technical Community College, and to the Alexandria Riverfront Center that was the host of the actual conference. Overall, when you look at some high numbers that we're going to share here with you today in the presentation, what I want to make note is we had over 500 attendees in this year's competition, and 396 of those did compete. So that is an increase over last year. And I know that they're working on showing those numbers here in the presentation. So we'll pull those up shortly. But again, that's 171 more from last year that did compete. The other thing to note is that we had 56 gold medal winners, which means that those students have the opportunity to go and compete at nationals. And last year we had 30 gold. So that is an increase again this year in gold medal winners. The opportunity that was given to some of our faculty and staff to be recognized for their hard work and leadership is listed here. Our state advisor from Northwest Louisiana Technical Community College, Alina Harris, the Pillar Skills Award, Arlindra Zenon from North Shore and Daryl Buck from Suella, and the Champion Skills Award, Ms. Tony Brown Celestine, and of course Central for hosting this year's event. Overall, you'll see we have some great sponsors listed and partners. Without them, we wouldn't be able to have such a successful conference. We raised over $20,000 in sponsorships alone. And then again, thank you to Representative Paula Davis, who made an allocation of $100,000 for us to be able to support not only the state competition, but to be able to afford to take the students to nationals over this year. And hopefully that will continue into next year. So this is high level numbers of this year. Overall, we've seen great success and we're looking to build upon that success for next year.
Any questions or comments from the board? Just want to thank Chandler and I can't help but also recognize Damian Glover.
Absolutely.
Damian is on vacation this week. He's not able to be with us, but let me tell you, this guy's grabbed Skills USA and taken off running with it. Okay. And it is blowing up in Louisiana. The folks around the country are calling Damian to ask, how do we make this better? How do we make our program better? And you're seeing the numbers, you're seeing the results. Just want to give credit to Damian.
Great. Absolutely. Damian and that committee. Thank you again.
All right. With that, Madam Chair, we are coming in almost at record time here. I want to be sure that we give the board plenty of opportunity. Just want to share with the audience in the group, we have a number of board members who have dedicated time this afternoon to visit with the SACS team as they are visiting Central Louisiana Technical Community College. So they will do that visit by video. They won't be jumping on a helicopter as soon as the meeting's over. But I just want to make sure you know that that's a big part of the support that this board provides to colleges is by carving out time from their own schedule to make sure that we're supportive. So we'll try to make sure that we get through our schedule and get those board members out to that conversation with our friends at SACS. With that, now is a bittersweet time in our work as we now recognize people who have made incredible contributions to this organization, but now are moving on to the next chapter in life. And so with that, I'd like to turn to Chair Mount. and ask her to make a few comments about these two individuals.
Well, ditto, it is bittersweet. The next two individuals we're going to introduce and have them come forward at that time. The first one is Michael Redmond, who we want to recognize today for his retirement. And he has worked with the technical college and then with our system office since February of 2003. Now he's only 33, but anyway, but we're really sad but happy for him. He's done a tremendous job. I've served on audit, I think, ever since I've been on the board. So I've worked closely with him, and smart, intelligent, works hard, responds quickly. I can't say enough other than he's a 5-star kind of guy. And with that, Monty.
Michael, I would just invite you to the table to say a few words, and I hope you wrote a speech.
He's always prepared.
That's right.
I sat in this same seat 10 years ago when y'all appointed me as director. And I asked, what do I need to do to be successful in this job? And Stevie Smith said, keep our names out of the paper. And I responded, don't do stupid stuff. And I think we've all succeeded in that regard. This is a bittersweet time. I don't want to take up a lot of time. I want to thank this board for the support and always having our back that you have given me personally and our department. I want to thank the chancellors for building the relationship with them that we have. And I ask you to continue that support for my successor in the coming years. I feel like I am a better person for having been associated with all the rock stars that are in this organization. I'm not sure what else to say, but I really thank you all.
Anybody like to make a comment before we move on? Everybody's good? Okay. Next, we're going to recognize Sarah Klein-Peter for her service to the board. She's worked at the system since 2013. I don't even know where to begin about this. She and I go way back when I was the mayor of Lake Charles. So
Willie.
anyway, just full of life, vivacious, organized, smart, just makes our jobs as board members so easy because she's just there every time, ahead of us, generally, almost always ahead of it. Before I even ask the question, it's already done. So we're just so proud of you and wish you the best in your next endeavor, which you may want to share with everybody when you come to the table. And I'll ask you to come to the table at this time, if you'd like.
Do I have to come to the table or can
You
I just
do.
sit in my seat?
You do.
This is my seat.
Ms.
Can I
Klein-Peter,
stay
could you report to the table?
Thank you, Chair Mount and Monty. Ooh, this is going to be harder than I thought.
Take a deep breath.
This board has been so important to me.
in not only my professional growth, but my personal growth. I consider every one of you friends, mentors, and leaders that I am privileged to know. And the people in the back of the room that I can't look at right now, and all of those in the offices have made me the success that you see. When I took on this role, it was to make sure that every single one of you never had to ask for anything. And that was my goal. And I succeeded most of the time. But I didn't do it without the people in the office and the people at Baton Rouge Community College who allowed this meeting to happen seamlessly every month. Anthony Brown is a godsend to me because he made sure that I didn't have to ask for anything. So know that my success is nothing without the people behind me. I am delighted to share that I will be serving as the Executive Director of Development and Fundraising at Franciscan University, and I find it only fitting that I was able to continue in higher ed and do things that have combined my volunteer service with my professional ability. And not only that, but to join my profession with my faith. And it is a challenge that I look forward to with mixed emotions because I do not like leaving my friends. And all of you in the back and in the front are my friends. So thank you all.
May I add a comment? Oh, just a second. May I say a short comment? When I met you, you've always made sure that the deaf were involved. And before we had limits and we'd go places and people would always want to scuff the job, but you've provided 100% access. You've always made sure we have access. And the deaf community is very proud of this too. This is not a common characteristic in people. It's outstanding, and I thank you.
Hi, Issa. Thank you. I had to push the button. Thank you for coming back. I think one of the greatest privileges in this role is to see the students roll through here. And in my almost 10 years, I've had 11 sets of students. And each year they get better and better. But most importantly, the ones that stick around and show us their successes are so very vital for the work that we do.
Yeah, come to the mic, please. Nobody wants to miss your good words.
So a few months ago, Community Coffee does this thing called First Cup. So it was right across the room from LCTCS. I can't remember the date, but I started having some flashbacks, and then I contacted Sarah, and we kind of had a very nice one-on-one moment that, if you don't mind, I'd like to share. I told Sarah that she made me feel that I belong. She made sure that I had everything that I need, and part of my success is, thankful to people like her and you guys, but she was the one that made me feel that I belong, that I should be here, that I'm a part of it. And I love you. I know that our friendship will continue, but I just want to say that she was a pivoted person to this board that made me feel welcome. And I love this woman that more than words can express.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Can we make comments?
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Yes.
I would, wow, like just wow. I know that it has not been easy to support, I'll say people like me, okay? Because I know those of us up here are busy and oftentimes we forget not intentionally to do things, but you are fantastic. Like truly fantastic. You keep us in line with such grace. Really, such grace and patience and tenacity. That honestly, we would not, I believe, I know I speak for myself, but I believe that all of us have benefited from your leadership. And sometimes we don't, you know, people will say, oh, you support us, you help to lead us, right? It is your leadership abilities that really have helped to support the work that we are able to execute from this position. So I love to see you grow and develop and take on new leadership positions. And I also have to say it has been truly an honor to also see you thrive personally with your son. You are a fantastic mother. So I know that when you talk about the balance and the roles and things that, you know, you are doing as great of a job as you can. And again, with such grace and leadership. So thank you for everything and best of luck.
Thank you.
Chip?
Sarah, I don't know how to say this, but I want to thank you personally just for helping, you know, I mean, I have Sarah on speed dial. So when I don't know which way
We
is
all
up,
do.
I call her down. And more importantly than helping me, thank you for putting up with my wife because she listens to you more than she listens to me. So I may have to keep you on retainer. But the thing that I want everyone in this room to know is not how much we appreciate Sarah on this board, but how she is respected nationally. I am blown away when I go to national conferences and the respect that Sarah gets. I mean, to have Monty and the year Monty was the outstanding executive and you were the outstanding support staff, I could not have been more proud. So I just want everyone to know it's not only us, but across this country, Sarah is known and respected by everybody. And that says a lot.
Mr. Hardy?
I don't know where to start. Let me just say this. It's not uncommon for me to show up at a hotel in New York and they ask me to leave, right? But I will tell you that getting Sarah on the phone, I'm going to get in that hotel. Not only that, probably get an upgrade. What she does is phenomenal. I don't know how she has done it because as she often says, we have all these different personalities on this board. Some of us might be a little egocentric. And what she does is unbelievable. What Supervisor Jackson just referred to, I'm the vice president of ACCT. She won a national award. This is a body that's recognized all over the United States of America. And they recognized her. There's no doubt in my mind she's going to be successful in whatever she does. I mean, she listens to us, she pays attention. We're not even paying attention to ourselves. I mean, one time I was in a meeting talking about being shut out of the Superdome. Before I knew it, she had called the guy that ran the Superdome and took care of it.
You're welcome. I know a guy.
So I do want to say that one thing you are is a doer. You always figure out a way to get it done. I've never seen you approach a hurdle that you didn't figure out a way to get over. I know you'll continue to do that. So thank you so much. And not only as a professional, but as a friend. We love you. We will miss you.
Madam, words cannot express my feelings for you. Not only are you a professional, you are a true friend. So Sarah is the one, Madam Chair, sometimes when I'm like, the rest of us don't get things on time, she'll call and she's very nice. Hi, how are you? You know this report is due. Yes, ma'am. I appreciate all of that because those are things that you did not have to do. So I appreciate you taking time with each and every one of us, making sure that we were prepared, but most of all, making sure that we did what we committed to do. I wish you success. Selfishly, I wish we can tell you you couldn't go, but that's not our choice. But I do wish you success. I know that you would do great work and you will be excellent in whatever you do. Just know I'm probably like the rest of the board members. I probably will have to call you and ask you, did you take something to remind us to do X, Y, and Z? But most of all, I will call you and say, Sarah, I really am on the highway trying to get there at 5 o'clock in the morning. Thank you for your work. I wish you much success.
Thank you very much.
Sarah, yeah, everything is, well, never will everything be said, but I agree and echo all of that. And I'm most honored with the fact that you called me a friend. Thank you for everything.
Oh, it's on. I think I shared with Sarah before, but I love the part when she says she gets to blend her work that she loves with her faith. And we shared a little bit about that. I try to end everything with blessings because she has truly been a blessing to me. I told her when I first got on this board, I think I said last night, I love saying I'm a new board member. I think that's my way of excusing myself from being late on all stuff. But I told her, I told my husband, I said, Sarah is leaving and I don't know what I'm going to do without her. He said, Laura, you just got on the board and the lady's leaving you. Did you do that? And I said, I hope I didn't do that. But, as I've said to you, wherever you will go, and my word for this season is better. And wherever you will go, whatever space you will occupy, whatever people you will meet, whatever work you will do, it will be better because we are better because of you. This organization, us as a board, me personally, better because there's a Sarah. And I, like the others, you're going to stay in my phone. So don't think you're going anywhere as my friend, as Cynthia's friend. But you will, and it will be better. Thanks.
Thank you.
Vicky?
Sarah, I suppose that I must be the only one sitting here that recalls the day you came on board.
Very well, sir.
Well, your bubbling personality and attention to details has far exceeded our expectations and made us a much better organized and detailed group to serve our state. Your bubbling personality and attention to details, and I know I'm repeating myself, has brought tremendous greatness to this system. And I, like everybody on this board, value your many, many contributions that has enabled the successes that we have experienced in this system during your tenure. And certainly we wish you the best without question. You have exceeded our expectations, and I know you're going to exceed the expectations of your organizations in the future. So again, thank you personally on my behalf. And also, I want to thank you for the assistance and kindness that you have showed Joy through all these years. In fact, on the way over here today, she let me know that she wanted to visit with you before the day is over. So again, thank you for everything you've done for us.
You're welcome. Thank you. And may I just say, Mr. Murphy referenced that he was there when I was hired. And I think he was the only board member in that interview. And it was after a board meeting.
Tim too.
Tim, were you in there?
I was.
You were on the board, but
Yeah.
Mr. Murphy was in my interview and he looked at me and said, how do you think you're going to deal with these 17 people? And I quipped really quickly back that those 17 people wake up in the morning just like I do. And it will be my job to anticipate how they need to be and what they need to do. And then I did joke, and Tim referenced this too. We have 17 members, but I affectionately know that there are 24 personalities, and it's just who I'm going to talk to that day. And I'm ready for it. When people ask me, I am ready for it because I'm like, who's showing up today? And then, and that's, isn't that just the truth of everyone? Because we all have separate personalities depending on the day. But more importantly, you've been able to allow me to make sure that your spouses or your children are also taken care of. And that's something that I enjoy doing. So thank you.
I also want to thank you for not sharing the details of some of those early trips with these board members.
I will also remind you that I am the keeper of the secrets and they will stay with me.
Okay. I just want to say, from my perspective, you has been an amazing help for us as students. I'm pretty sure Matthew will feel the same way. You made our transition to this position so easily. Like any questions we had, and I personally had a lot of questions, and you just answered them and took your time. And I appreciate you remind us every day if we have to do something, if we don't have a board call. I know you send individual text messages, and that's going above and beyond doing that. And I just want to say, Ms. Sarah, it has been amazing to meet you. I feel so sorry for the SGA presidents coming after me that will not get to work with you.
Yes.
Because I know you say everybody's different. Somebody else is going to wear different shoes. It's not going to be the same, but they're going to try and do their best. But you're a very unique person, and it will be very hard to top your performance, I feel. And for what I have heard, I'm pretty sure I'm correct on that. And I just want to wish you the best. I hope you get your PhD sooner than you think, and you're going to rock that thesis. I know that for a fact, because you have a lot going on with you, and I know you're going to succeed on everything you put your mind into it. And I hope I still can text you to ask you for reference.
Always, you may always.
If I may, Sarah, I won't repeat what has been said, but just simply to say ditto and amen to everything that's been said. But one thing I do want to point out, both to the audience as well as to this board, that the mission of this organization is to develop people. You saw it a few minutes ago, right? But it's also important for us to not only develop the students who show up and enroll, but it's also important for us as an organization to develop our people. That is what this board set us out to do in 2013, Mr. Murphy. You sat at the round table in the office of the president, and you said, we can't provide raises, but we can invest in our people. Sarah Kleinpeter is going to do incredible things at Fran U. I'm convinced of it, but it happened because of an organization that invests in people. Don't forget that mission aspect. So, Sarah, this is not goodbye. This is just for now. Take care of yourself. I can't wait to see what you'll build in the rest of this career that you've made for yourself. And yes, she's going to finish that degree, and we'll all be there to celebrate with her.
Yeah.
But Sarah, thank you for everything that you've done for this organization.
You're welcome. And thank you very much, Monty. You reminded us, I think, your first public speech that people matter. And that was already something we were doing, but you brought it to the forefront. So thank you. And then you also allowed me to stay curious. And if you have talked to my mom or dad ever, you know that I've been a curious person my whole life, and you've allowed my curiosity to blossom into leadership. So thank you for allowing me to do that.
All right, Madam Chair, before I get too caught up here, let's jump to the board development session. You will note that I believe it was in the last meeting, the meeting of March, we talked a good bit about enrollment. We talked a good bit about the impact of enrollment on revenue. But in particular, you were aware that this past year, the legislative session resulted in a $25 million amount that was placed at the LCTCS and allowing us to grow the healthcare workforce of the state of Louisiana. So we've seen a number of different conversations going on in front of the board, but I wanted to make sure that you had the details of exactly how this is playing out. I want to ask if we can, Susie Showen to join us at the table, as well as Wendy Palermo, to begin a discussion. And look, these two ladies have done incredible work, but let me tell you, they don't teach a single student. They don't graduate a single student. That happens at the colleges. And so I'd like to encourage as well, as they will invite those members in the audience to the table to talk a little bit more about the details of exactly how is this playing out, boots on the ground. I'll turn to you, Susie.
Thank you very much. And I have to start out just by saying, I'm not sure who we're supposed to be mad at, but we're mad at somebody for making us follow that. This is absolutely not fair.
That's right.
But Mr. President, Chair Mount, members of the board, we're very glad to be here to speak with you. As Monty said, we're going to give you something of an overview of where we are with the healthcare funding and so forth. But I would like to indulge myself and hopefully a few of you by starting out with the big picture. So I do believe that everybody here is aware that we've got a shortage of healthcare workers in Louisiana. So we're going to start out by talking a little bit about that. And are we?
It's not. I did.
It is on. Are y'all able to just advance it to the?
Okay.
So today, we're going to start out with the sort of big picture that I was just talking about, and then Wendy and I will. So per the Louisiana Workforce Commission, there are nearly 7,000 openings for nurses right now. So this is a fairly substantial crisis that we are confronting right now in terms of the need for healthcare workers and the need to support our communities with those healthcare workers. And we have over 1,000 openings statewide for a number of other positions as well. Let's look at the next slide. So if we look pre and post pandemic, the number of qualified RN nursing students not admitted into the clinicals exceeded 1,000 multiple years in a row. And that is due to the nurse faculty shortage. And I think it's fairly well established with this group that when we have a shortage in the private sector, we're going to have trouble finding faculty because they are in demand in the private sector and we often can't compete with those salaries. So this is something that we're always going to confront. We also will have some issues with clinical capacity, right? So there are some obstacles to getting folks through these programs that we want to make sure people are aware of. And so expanding opportunities for clinicals and making sure that we have access to the faculty that we need to teach those students are going to be a big part of the solution. We're going to have an expected 7% increase in the number of positions for nurses. And these are licensed practical nurses and registered nurses, and an expected 13% increase in the number of some other positions. And we talk often about, the proportions that you see in a lot of our manufacturing or construction fields and so on, where you might have one engineer and then 2 bachelor's level folks to support them, and then 7 techs. We often see sort of similar proportions in the healthcare industry as well, where you might have a physician or a physician assistant, somebody like that, but you're going to need more nurses to support them. And then you're going to need a lot of these people in these technologist, technician type positions that are supporting them. And it really is LCTCS and similar campuses where you're going to see those people educated. That is a major part of the role that we play. And it is a very large proportion of the overall workforce demand. If we can go to the next slide. I did want to highlight sort of some of these roles as we talk about folks that are entering the healthcare workforce that really are in many ways exclusively prepared by LCTCS and by similar education and training providers. We see our entry-level positions, and we sometimes talk about the credentials associated with these positions as on-ramp credentials, because traditionally a lot of these roles have been high demand, but maybe not all the way to high wage. So we're looking at folks like the certified nursing assistants, we're looking at medical assistants, phlebotomists, who are the people who stick the needles in your arms, pharmacy techs, sterile processors, and the medical billing and coding professionals who are sort of increasingly important to this workforce. And then you've got the higher level providers, and those are the licensed practical nurses, the registered nurses, and so forth. And those are really where we get into the high wage, high demand jobs. But I do want to offer Wendy a quick opportunity to talk about what we're seeing with some of these wages, particularly with those credentials that we have historically described as on-ramp credentials. We are seeing some changes in the wage profiles there, and I'd like to give her a chance to talk to that.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chair Mount, President Sullivan, and members of the board. We are seeing salary increases that we've never seen before as compared to pre-pandemic. The first one that you see listed is certified nurse assistant. Just doing a cursory review of our statewide industry partners, we're seeing salaries of around $13 to $15 an hour for a certified nurse aide, which only requires 84 clock hours of training. This is full-time base pay, and in some situations, large sign-on bonuses that we've never seen before, because what Susie is describing that we're seeing as a result of the need we'll need by 2030 is that I commonly refer to it as the colander effect. We're putting them out, but those who are eligible for early retirement in healthcare are taking it. So it is really critical that we as LCTCS, in partnership with our industry partners, try to grow that healthcare sector as far as our graduates are concerned. So that's what we're seeing right now. And industry are still struggling to fill those jobs.
So our industry partners, as you're hearing, are stepping up to the plate. They are working with us in a number of really productive and important ways. And one of those ways is they are raising wages for these entry-level positions, which helps folks get established in the healthcare fields. And then what we really hope a lot of these people will decide to do is to return to our colleges, to our campuses, improve their skills, and move up through the career ladders in the healthcare world. So here's an illustration of a pathway like that. So we want all of you to have an understanding of what this can look like for an individual person as they are able to advance their earning potential, their ability to support a family through this field. So you might see somebody come to one of our colleges and get their certified nursing assistant, their CNA with us, and go into the healthcare field, get established, start working, understand whether this is really the right place for them. We've all heard a few stories of folks entering the healthcare field. It can be a challenging field, and discovering that it isn't really the right pathway for them. If they're able to do that early on, then we can help them find other pathways that are going to make sense. And it may still be within this space, right? They might go into equipment repair or something like that rather than direct patient care. But we can get somebody this early experience and the ability to earn money, then they can come back to us while they're still working, while they are able to support their families, and become a licensed practical nurse, which is a technical diploma, which is not a full 2-year degree. So they're starting off with a short-term credential, adding some onto that, and then continue with us all the way up to the registered nursing programs, where they really are able to earn a very substantial wage at that point. So this is one of those pathways, but there are many others as well. And when we talk about stackable credentials, this is the sort of thing we're talking about, where people are able to add on hours, add on skills, add on credentials, add on licenses that are able to move them up that line. Next slide. And just a quick word to the industry partnerships, and I'm going to formally hand it over to Wendy for the next part of our presentation. And then I'm going to take a seat so that our college partners can come up and join us. So Wendy, if you can take it away
Sure.
with a few words about our industry partners.
We could not do what we do without our partners in entertaining us thinking outside the box. I think if you could sit down with ComCare, with Ochsner, with our partners around the state, with Christus and many others who are going, we need help. What can you do? And allowing us to come into their facilities all hours, weekends, nights, nursing homes, allowing 16-year-olds. We have individuals that are in dual enrollment in high school who have never been, allowed in clinical, or now we'll speak about that a little bit later. We could not do the work that we do without them right alongside us, walking down that path. So when I tell you we had to think creatively and have them at our side, we are so grateful to Ochsner, to ComCare, and Christus, and so many others. And I do want to acknowledge that Ochsner Health System was the leader in helping us securing funding during the 2022 legislative session. And we're so very grateful, that $25 million that Dr. Sullivan spoke about earlier.
And I'm going to wrap up my part of this discussion with just a word about that funding stream. So you're going to hear a lot now about the anticipated performance, the outcomes that we are expecting from that $25 million. And we're going to hear from some of the folks on the ground who are making that performance happen, who are really, pulling out all the stops to make that happen. Our decision at the system level, what was that this funding stream is about new healthcare workers, not the existing production that we have been engaged in over the years, but about new workers on top of our existing baseline. And it's about performance funding. So you're all familiar with a number of the funding streams that we've talked to you about already, like Reboot and Broadband and so forth, where our model is that we reimburse the colleges for the production of credentials. So they get the funding at the point that they produce a new worker who is ready for the workforce. And that is the same model that we have used for the healthcare funding stream. And Wendy and our other partners are going to give you a lot more information about that. Thank you. And I'm going to leave the podium.
All right, next slide. Thank you. So as we were sitting there and we're with our industry partners trying to think creatively, I want to remind the board that I sit before you as the Chief Education and Training Officer, Chief Academic Officer, but I'm also a nurse and have served as a dean and has served as faculty for many years. I've been a nurse almost 25 years, and it just felt like the pandemic, there was a saying, never waste a good pandemic, to think outside the box and creatively. So one of the things that we did in collaboration with the Louisiana Nursing Home Association was to get with our Louisiana State Board of Practical Nurse Examiners and say, would you be willing to suspend rules that would allow students in high school in our rural area, including our rural area, and allow us to offer practical nursing education to high schoolers? I want you to let that sink in for a minute. We're talking about 16-year-olds. And when we threw that out there, I'm not gonna lie to you, I thought it was gonna slingshot right back at me. The board was so wonderful. I remember, having this phone conversation and then going, and they were like, okay, we'll pilot that. And then I thought, okay, now what? We got to find colleges. And so I pick up the phone, as I do with this slow Southern accent, and I start calling the people that I really work for, and that's the colleges. And of course, Dr. Sullivan, and he allows me this flexibility. Thank you, Dr. Sullivan. And I started calling colleges. Well, I also had to start calling districts, school districts. That is threading needles between our school districts and the metropolitan areas, the rural areas, the deans, and she's in the audience today, and I did warn her, and they wanted to work with every single college that we have. I cannot tell you. When I called BRCC, they immediately said yes. But when I spoke to the Louisiana Department of Ed, they said, we will work with Nunez. We will work with Chancellor Tenney too. And I remember thinking, well, I haven't quite called them yet, but I'm sure she'll be fine with it. And she was. So thank you, Chancellor Tenney, for that. Then we had another barrier. We wanted to expand. You know, the Board of Supervisors, Dr. Sullivan said, grow, expand. We got to do it. But as you heard earlier, we didn't have enough faculty because there was a board rule at the RN level that said we got to have masters prepared. And if they don't, you can only have 20%. But for my small colleges, your small colleges that only had 4 faculty in an RN program, that meant they could not even have one BSN exception. It was just really, as we investigated, and I also, in transparency, need to tell you as the Board of Supervisors, I am on that RN board. And we did take that to a task force and said, let's look at this number. Is it arbitrary? Where did it come from? And the board spent many months and we removed that 20% cap so that the colleges could expand as appropriately. And Dr. Sullivan keeps telling me, expand to our rural areas. Don't forget our rural sites. I want those to grow as well. And as a woman from rural region 8, I know that it's important. And so do our colleges. And then both boards right now are working with LCTCS to explore the option of the LPN to RN apprenticeship. And I know he's in the room. He doesn't know I'm going to talk about this, but that is Chancellor Bateman, Kathy Madry, Dr. Holly Hart, the Vice Chancellor, working so hard behind the scenes. And then the Practical Nursing Board heard about it, came to that board meeting, and they reached out and said, we want to do CNA to LPN. So you can imagine the Hospital Association, the Nursing Home Association are just thrilled to death to see some exciting new movement in a direction that's never happened. And then we had House Bill 320, Representative Chris Turner filed that will ask for the allowance of RN students to be able to sit for the PN licensure NCLEX exam if they're unsuccessful. So many times, this doesn't just impact LCTCS, but our 4-year partners. If our 4-year partners have a student, they complete 2 years of clinical, and for whatever reason, life gets in the way, this bill also supports those students that they're not out with nothing. And then we say, then they can come to LCTCS with that LPN, right? And then we could apprentice them out to the RN, give them right back to the 4 years for the bachelor. So they're on board with that as well. And we're thrilled for that partnership. So this is what we've challenged system-wide, is to increase the number of healthcare credentials of value by 50%, or we want 6,000. And that means not CPR certification, not your ACLS. We are thinking you want license, certifications, and individual that can get out and get a high wage, high demand job. So right now our colleges have projected to complete a little over 5,500, which is about 2,000 over already what we've done as an average for 3 years. That is incredible. That is something that Dr. Sullivan mentioned. I have not taught one single student. I work for the deans and the directors. We meet once a month. I ask them what their barriers are, and now they text me and tell me what they want me to do. The synergy is fantastic. We've asked them to focus on new non-credit programs and or expand to meet regional demand. Each region is so different. BRCC is so different than Northwest Louisiana Technical Community College. So we want them to grow, but also to meet those needs in the short-term non-credit space. And then retention of our students on the academic side. When the funding came out, courses were in session. So it's a twofold approach: retain and expand. Every nursing student is encouraged to sit for the CNA certification and earn it as a stackable credential so that they're in the facilities working, making that high wage, high demand. It's going to make them better as a nurse. Expansion of our non-credit healthcare programs. I have to give a shout out to RPCC. They have moved fast in that medical billing and coding. The EMS, nurse aide, sterile processing, pharmacy technician, all colleges have grown by leaps and bounds. It depends on the region. The non-credit divisions recently voted to have a strategic plan to be more intentional to braid credentials of value among our adult basic ed population. This is me working with Erin Landry. She's not here today, who's our director of adult ed. Why not take that education and training and braid it with a credential of value that they want to earn? And then also taking those students who earn that on the non-credit side, removing and simplifying their ability to earn academic credit. So if they earn a CNA in our non-credit side, they should be automatically awarded credit in the LPN space so that we can keep them and keep them moving forward on that path. So here are wins. Dr. Sullivan and Susie tease me because they say I speak in acronyms because that's what healthcare providers do. And so I apologize. So I put MAC, but I had to add, it's a medication attendant certified. This has been phenomenal. This is a CNA who has 1 year of experience, come back for additional training through the LCTCS. Any of our colleges, all are approved for it, and they can administer medications, routine meds in long-term care facilities such as ComCare. They were a wonderful partner in that. And then recently, it was so well received in our state, they expanded it to our assisted living facilities. Fletcher Technical Community College, Dr. Strickland, you don't know that you're up here, but your college has been fantastic in the program sharing space, offering LPN to RN at our friends at CLTCC. That will start this fall. And then recently, if you recall, Dr. Randy Esters was here at this table with Dr. Strickland, I believe it was last meeting, and they're sharing their medical lab program with Louisiana Delta Community College. But Dr. Bateman, I didn't forget about you. You're the original in respiratory therapy. They share respiratory therapy with Louisiana Delta Community College. And then just overcoming challenges by working not against, but with our regulatory agencies to consider updating rules that allow for a larger cohort of students. I was taught years ago, follow the rules, but if the rules don't make sense anymore, be a change agent. And then something I'm really proud of, all the MOUs that you're seeing at the board, this is with our four-year partners. We, start here, go anywhere, right? That's our motto. And we love that our students can pursue a four-year degree with institutions like Southern, I'm a graduate, ULM, NSULA, and others. And here's what you probably are looking for. Each college has a base number, and that's calculated what they've done for the past 3 years. That's very typical of how we did the Hero Fund. But Dr. Sullivan said, it's not how many you take in or admit, it's how many you graduate. So we kind of flipped the script a little bit, and the colleges were completely on board and said, tell me how many you put out, and I want you to increase it. So if you'll look right now, we're at a little under 60%, but it's not quite to the 6,000. So the colleges, receive gentle emails and reminders and meetings going, if you could increase by at least 40 times 12, it'll get us to that 6,000. And I got to tell you, Chancellor Staub, I don't know if she's in the room, but she has been so committed behind the scenes. And Dr. Aspinall, I forgot, I didn't mean to forget you. He has worked with me with the workforce officers to make sure that they are braiding those credentials of value in the adult ed space. If I forgot a chancellor or college, please forgive me. I'm speaking off the cuff. Okay, next slide. So here's the time where I get to turn over the microphone to two individuals who represent all 12 colleges. You're going to see, I invite Dr. Cheryl Myers, our Vice Chancellor of Academic and Student Affairs from Delgado Community College, and then Dr. Danielle Vaughland, Dean of Nursing and Allied Health, who have taken this system by storm and what they are doing. And I got to tell you, they're not real happy with us about having to come forward because they like to work, and we pulled them from the college, but we're so grateful that they came today.
Welcome to both of you.
Good morning.
So good morning, Dr. Sullivan, Chair Mountain, the board. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to talk about all of the wonderful things that our faculty and staff are doing at the college level. As many of you have said, we do what we do for the students and for the betterment of the community. And I would not be sitting in this chair if I didn't have the support of our chancellor and of course, each and every one of you in supporting us and what we do at the college level. So many of the things that you spoke about today, the pathways and the partnerships are things that we strive to do at Delgado Community Colleges and all of our other colleges. I'd like to talk specifically about a few of our partnerships that we have. As you know, and Dr. Sullivan mentioned, we did the ribbon cutting ceremony on that beautiful $44 million building that I've been waiting 20 years for. So we are very excited to have that building and to be able to expand capacity. That space will not only be a recruitment tool, but it will be a retention tool, and it allows us to expand the number of nursing and allied health students that we are able to have at the college. So some of the things that we have been doing with Ochsner, we have a medical assistant to PN pathway. So we take those medical assistants that are currently employed at Ochsner, selected in conjunction with Ochsner and the nursing program, and give them some advanced standing credit for what they have earned and what they do in the medical assistant field, and put them in the practical nursing program. As you know, or you may not know, some of our nursing and allied health faculty can be a little rigid in how they like to do things. And so getting them to think outside the box and to say, we don't have to have a practical nursing program that takes 16 months to complete. We can change schedules. We can do things faster. We can get these students in and out in a year. And that's what we've done with this MA to PN program. So we completed our first cohort back in February of 22. We had an 80% completion rate on that cohort. We started our second cohort in the fall of 22. We're also doing a surge tech cohort with Ochsner. So it's taking, again, currently employed people at Ochsner in any field, in any area of the hospital that they are in, and putting them in our surge tech program. We had a cohort start last fall. We have another cohort starting this coming fall of 23. We're also doing the LPN to RN apprenticeship model. We had a cohort of 7 students start this past summer. We'll have another cohort start this upcoming summer. But all of this has to have the support of not only their employer, but the support of the faculty. And so Ochsner has paid their tuition fees. They supply their uniforms, all of their supplies, laptop computers, everything that they need to be successful while they are in the program. And we partner with Ochsner to provide the additional support. Because as we know, many of our students, if they're not successful, it's not because they can't achieve academically, it's because they have life that interferes with their ability to succeed. So we have embarked upon a case management type model. So we supply the students with any of the support they need, the coaching, the tutoring. Ochsner will supply them with the social supports that they may need in terms of childcare, if they are running short on money, those types of things. So we have weekly or biweekly check-ins with Ochsner, and they talk about every single student and their success in the program and what we can do to help them be successful. Because again, it's not about them just being in the program, it's about them completing. We are also very excited to sign tonight. So if you're in New Orleans at 6 o'clock, come by the new building. We will be signing, students will be signing a letter of intent to participate in the LPN dual enrollment program in partnership with the New Orleans Career Center and Ochsner. So we have 23 students tonight who will be signing that letter, who have committed to taking their general education courses with us at Delgado in the fall of 23. They will start taking their practical nursing courses in the spring of 24. When they graduate from their high schools, the New Orleans Career Center is covering their tuition for them to complete their LPN curriculum by May of 25. So again, in a year after completion of high school, they will be licensed practical nurses. So we're very excited about that. We are also starting in the fall of 23 in LPN and RN pre-apprenticeship program with Oshner, New Orleans Career Center, and various other high schools in the Orleans and Jefferson Parish area, where those students will take their general education courses that would prepare them for either an RN pathway or an LPN pathway upon graduation from high school. Oshner will also provide them with career exploration, mentorship, financial literacy, a summer internship in which they will earn their CNA credential and their IBC so that they could work. And if life takes them in a different direction, they will have that credential that they can always use in the future. We will also be having a program developed by our Dean of Nursing. It's called STARS, Strategies to Attract and Retain Scholars in Nursing. It's a 3-week boot camp that we will have, again, in partnership with Oshner, New Orleans Career Center, and various other high schools, where we'll take high school juniors and seniors to participate in the life of a healthcare provider. So it will not only be nursing, but it will be nursing and allied health. They will come to the new facility, participate in simulations, some basic skills training. We will get them their CPR certification, their first aid certification. They will visit healthcare facilities in the area and have various speakers about healthcare. Our non-credit side are increasing the number of CNAs that we are training, patient care techs, medical assistants, community health workers. You mentioned the adult ed. They had a meeting just this week with Oshner to talk about how we can provide our adult education services to Oshner employees and then get them into a healthcare pipeline, and also open up those opportunities to their family members as well. In partnership with our ComCare, I don't know if Mr. Tucker is still here, but we're very much looking forward to working with them. We have already had the medication attendant training available. We've had conversations with them about CNAs, LPN, providing continuing education for their current employees on a yearly basis. So we're looking forward to expanding that partnership. And also, thanks to Supervisor McConduit with our Louisiana Healthcare Connections, on our non-credit side, we're looking at identifying those students in mid to low income communities, Black and Brown students, and getting them into the healthcare pathways, CNA, PCT, community health workers, because again, it's our commitment to our not just to our employers, but to our people, and providing a better life for them. So that's some of the things that we've been up to at Delgado. So thank you for this opportunity.
Go ahead.
Dr. Ball. Hi, good morning. Okay, so Dr. Palermo told me I had about 2 minutes. So y'all are probably going to get to experience my Bayou girl talking here, fast talking. Because we have a lot going on and a lot to be proud of at Fletcher. As you all know, Fletcher is located deep in the Bayou region, the bottom of the boots, very small community, but our healthcare workforce needs are just as big as any other community, if not bigger. When I began my endeavor as the Dean of Nursing at Fletcher in January of 2020, I shut it down 2 months later, right? I had no idea that the world that I knew would soon revolve around the two things that they do not teach you in nursing school, in surg tech school, in any healthcare related school, which is what Dr. Myers mentioned earlier. They do not teach you risk taking and thinking outside the box. There's no risk taking when you're dealing with people's lives. Everything you do is based on scientific evidence. Some kind of study was done, and throughout that study, the outcome, the desirable outcome was achieved. So that's everything our world has been based on. For 26 years, I've been a nurse, and this is what I've known. And every other one of my faculty, they were taught the same way. So it has been a challenge. But I can say that my faculty has been amazing at accepting the challenges, and we are learning every day more and more about thinking outside the box. So just some of the things I would like to tell y'all about today are some of the results of this thinking that we've been doing and my faculty has been doing. As the need for RNs was increasing in our area, we decided, this happened about the end of 2019, I believe. We wanted to create a program to get LPNs back to school to get their RN license, because hospitals were needing registered nurses with the higher acuity of all the patients that they were having, with the little bit more skills that the RNs needed. So we had to figure out how to do this, though, without taking the LPNs out of the workplace. The last thing we needed to do was to take them out the doctor's office, the clinics, and some of the hospitals where they were working. So a huge risk was to put the didactic for those LPNs online. No one had ever heard of online nursing or healthcare schools. So we decided to do that, and we created a bridge program that was based, that was designed right around their work schedules. They would do didactic online. We did need them to come on campus at least one day a week for skills. They had to learn skills checkoffs, and do some simulations. And clinicals were going to be on the weekends, so they didn't have to miss work. We are currently in the process of also going to offer clinicals on the weekdays in the evenings, because as we always say in the Division of Nursing and Allied Health, God loves Fletcher, and he sent us that instructor that wants to work weekday evenings. So we'll have another option for our students. So we're about to enter to admit our fourth cohort this fall, and they have done exceptionally well through everything that we've gone through the past 4 years in completion rates and in NCLEX pass rates. What we didn't know at the time when we were creating this program was that it was actually the perfect program for sharing with our sister colleges. It was already online. We just had to work it out to have instructors in the areas where we wanted to expand the program to. When we were approached by CLTCC, our partners at our colleagues at CLTCC, to help them in Alexandria with an LPN to RN program. We were a little apprehensive, how are we going to do this from Schriever? But we were like, oh, let's try it. See, we learned. Take a risk, let's try it. Let's see what we can do. It's been an amazing endeavor, a lot of reports being written, a lot of getting in front of the boards, but we will be taking in our first cohort this fall in Alexandria. So Fletcher now has a presence in Alexandria. We're hoping to take in 20 students. We received overwhelming support from the Louisiana State Board of Nursing and our accreditation agency, ASIN, for this endeavor that we were taking on. Of course, we couldn't stop with nursing. We had another call, and every time I see Dr. Palermo's text come across my phone, I'm like, yes, we can do it. Yes, Dr. Palermo. So she spoke about a little earlier, medical laboratory technology. We were approached by Louisiana Delta. They needed some help with that program in their community. They did have ULM, which had an MLS program for the 4-year degree, but they were interested in getting the MLT degree that could eventually lead on to the MLS. So because of the differences in the accreditation agencies, it wasn't quite as, I'm gonna say easy, because the state board really worked with this for nursing. It's a little different with the accreditation agency NACLs to just share. So what we decided we could do, though, was while Louisiana Delta was applying for accreditation and to get their program going through NACLs, their students in Monroe could start taking our classes, our didactic classes online. So hopefully soon, this just happened a few months ago, their students will be starting the MLT program, will be taking our didactic lessons online for MLT, and then they're going to continue with labs and clinicals with Louisiana Delta and in collaboration with ULM in Monroe. So we have always told all of our sister colleges, anything we can do to help share our programs, we will help you. If we can't downright share, then we are willing to give you any paperwork we had to turn in to any accreditation agency, any board paperwork, so that you can use it to get yours started, and that we're always just a phone call away. So it's pretty exciting that not only are we helping our community, but we're helping others, you know, and in the long term, it's only going to help us too, you know. But meanwhile, back in the Bayou, I'd like to share something else that I am doing right now at this current time. And Dr. Sullivan, it's those rural areas. I was getting phone calls every day, or not every day, but 2-3 times a week needing medical assistance, because everybody knows right now, because of the shortage of nurses, they're using the medical assistants to fill the gaps of the nurses, to help the nurses out. We have a program already at Fletcher for medical assistants, but it still wasn't enough. So we always talking about, we need to reach out to those underserved areas, the lower socioeconomic areas, and get them back in school. The problem in our area is some of them are over an hour away from our campus. Some of them live in those areas that are still trying to rebuild their lives after Hurricane Ida right now. Places like Montague, Chauvin, Pointe-au-Chien. I don't know if y'all ever heard of any of those places. Y'all probably did. Everybody's heard of Chauvin. So I decided to get in touch with our Terrebonne Parish Recreation District, because I'm looking for a place to bring my program there to them. If I can't get them to me, then I'm going to go to them. A lot of these individuals are one vehicle families, so they can't just take the vehicle and come to campus. Terrebonne Parish Recreation District has one gym open right now in all those areas, still not repaired from Hurricane Ida, but they did give me permission to use a room in there to hold my labs. So I'm very passionate about it. I'm from that area, grew up in that area. So this July, we will be accepting our first cohort of students down the Bayou, and we're going to them. Again, God loves Fletcher, because I got an instructor that wants to go to Chauvin. and the intention is to have all of these students take this program at no cost. And it's going to create a pathway. They're going to get their medical assistant. Then we are working on an MA to LPN at Fletcher. We'll get that done, and we're going to get them all the way up. It's how I started. I started as a CNA. I took that pathway, you know, and I'm very excited about that. So the things I've told you about so far are things that are going to help us tomorrow, next week, you know, the end of the year, next year. But the other thing I'm doing that I'm really, really excited about is hosting a summer camp, summer learning experience. We started it last year, trying to get the future of healthcare settled. We're offering a nursing and allied health summer learning experience to 9th through 12th graders. It's a week-long experience, charging them just the minimal $25. Just give me your commitment, you know. Every day they're coming in, and we're letting them do hands-on activities for each program that we offer, each career that they can go into. And then at the end of the week, we're taking them on a field trip to the hospital. We're taking them to Terrebonne General and to Ashna-Chabert this summer to see all the different areas, trying to gain some interest in these fields. You know, we're doing what we can. We're not planning on stopping. We're growing. We have a new facility being built right now for nursing. And my whole team is committed to making sure that we have enough healthcare workers out there to take care of everybody in this room in the near future.
You just made it real personal, right? Let me say, if I can, an investment of the amount of $25 million and the sense of commitment to community and technical colleges was a huge statement. But that statement is dwarfed by the legs that you have given to this effort. The fact that you are willing to think differently, the fact that you are willing to consider the impact on people, Thank you for that work. I have to admit to you, we've had countless conversations in the board office about how can we roll these dollars out in a way that has long-term sustained impact. It is not about money. It is about mindset. And what you're seeing in front of you today from these two individuals are incredible examples of thinking differently about how we improve the state of Louisiana. We owe you a debt of gratitude. Thank you for being willing to step out there. And thank you to every one of the chancellors in the audience who are willing to stand behind these leaders to allow them the flexibility to do this work differently. With that, I'd open it up to board members and ask if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make.
Just wow. I'm just totally impressed. You're passionate, you're committed, and you're measuring your outcomes like unbelievable. So I'm just so proud of all of you that you know the impact you're going to have today, but also in the future. It's just phenomenal. Thank you.
And thank you all for your support.
Likewise, I just want to say, it's the creativity and the pathways and that you guys are putting together. I do want to ask, we've talked about in the past and in our nursing programs at the top of the funnel, I'll call it, we have very diverse pools across our colleges. But when we look at our completers, we see that we've lost so many of the minority students going. Dr. Palermo, are we looking at that? Are we putting things in place? I like the strategies that if a student doesn't make it, they can get a CNA and then kind of get back in the pool. But are we just paying attention to that? What are we doing about that? I think I saw something, 5,500 completers. How many are those pools reflective of the diversity that we want, or are we still losing significant numbers of minority students from the stage of starting the nursing program to becoming completers?
It is, thank you so much, Supervisor Jackson. 2,000 students more across our healthcare sector are projected to complete. And I know that the colleges are taking the diversity of our student very seriously. And so I think when you heard Vice Chancellor Dr. Myers talk about wraparound services and case management, it is working with our industry partners. A lot of our students, minority as well, are also working. And if they're working at Oshner, are there social elements behind that, and working with, I don't want to speak for Dr. Myers, but knowing that if there are issues that are at home, that we're working together, we're linked arm in arm to support that student to be successful to completion. And that's where Dr. Sullivan has challenged all of us. It's not just, like you say, taking them in. That's great. That's a great step, but is completing them. And so we had some assistance with Jobs for the Future recently and identifying, what those barriers are to our students. But what it is wraparound services. I told Dr. Sullivan a few times, and even the commissioner has cited that, is, our students, for a lot of our students, they're one flat tire away from bankruptcy. And so we got to make sure that our single mothers, our students who have issues at home, whether it be I had students living in their car in a mall parking lot before, and and they were successful, by the way, they're a nurse today, but offering those wraparound services. So it's taking that more seriously, but I don't want to speak for the colleges, but those are the reports that we hear kind of on a monthly basis. And you're right, we'll have to look at those completers at the end and then do an analysis and go, where are we now? Are we better than we were? What worked? What didn't work? And then keep going. And that is the nursing process in action. So thank you so much for that.
And thank you for that, for just keeping that in the forefront, and thank all of our chancellors and colleges for your efforts. The other thing, it just struck me, we are trying so many creative things, and I applaud you guys for the things you're coming up. What kind of quality controls do we have in place to make sure? And when we're talking about dual enrollment students who can become LPNs, and I don't know what 18, 19 years old, they might.
Yeah.
Are they ready to go into that?
Yes.
And you guys are the experts on that. You're all nurses. Are they ready to go into these clinical settings, into, you know, high pressure, life and death in some situation setting? So what kind of quality, is it the NCLEX? Are there licensure exams?
Yes.
What kind of things are in place to make sure that we're turning out products across our system that can do the
I'm
job?
thrilled to answer that question because I'm excited. That's a great question. And that was us also circling the wagons internally going, how are we going to do this? And I should have mentioned this earlier. And this is an example. It was like, how are we going to make sure that those students that we take in don't all fall out? And, you know, so we're already setting the stage for that. So one of the ways for dual enrollment is also to include the parents, because they need to know that their son or daughter is going to be, you know, engaging with patients, you know, doing assessments. And that's very different than what you thought your son or daughter is going to be on the basketball court. They're not going to be on the basketball court. They're going to be in the hospital working shift work, and they're going to be working alongside some adults and what that looks like. And I'm going to tell you, Supervisor Jackson, we were a little nervous. And I mean, I'm just being honest with you. And so when I picked up the phone and I called North Shore, and Dr. Wainwright, he probably wants to throw something at me, but I really love Dean Marceau, and I know she's just upset she couldn't be here today, but we were nervous. Are we even going to get 10 in a cohort? Because that's a huge ask. You have to have a level of maturity that maybe they're not being asked or pushed to do. But for me, thinking back to the young Wendy Sloan, back when I was that person, I would have loved that opportunity. So I just believed in that. And Dr. Wainwright, please don't make me a liar, but I believe when Christy Marceau did an informative meeting with parents in that district, around 40 or 50 showed up serious. So that's signing, it's a commitment. We're not just placing students in there kind of randomly. They are being told, you are going to see anatomy, you're going to see fluids and things of that nature that you may not see, you know, in a typical high school situation. But the interest is there. And honestly, Supervisor Jackson, and if I can catch those students and call them a nursing student while they're in the 11th grade, and if they're a minority or if they're a male, to me, that just elevates where they are in their home and their family and support. It might keep them more interested. I got to tell you, Supervisor Jackson, I'm married to an ag teacher, and there's a lot of money invested in welders and men and getting them ready to become welders. And they're doing it at Skills USA, and they're doing it nationally. But what are we doing for those individuals that are interested in healthcare beyond the CNA? And I think it's a good opportunity, and I think we're willing to try it.
Supervisor Jackson, I'm thought for the last few minutes about whether I wanted to respond to your question, but I think it's important for all of us to be on notice that we live in a state that is considering a discussion as to whether we should ban diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Let me tell you something. When 58.5% of our people are employed and working, and 41.5% of them are not, I don't care what political party you're a part of. You're the anti-people party if you are not interested in diversifying Louisiana and diversifying our workforce. Yes, sir, Supervisor Jackson, you darn right. We're going to be looking at every one of those graduates. We're going to be dissecting it to see how many people came from households that were first generation. How many people came from households that were poverty circumstances? The politics of some other states have no place in Louisiana. The little man in Florida who started this and who now has passed it along to Texas, somehow we think that diversity, equity, and inclusion takes away from education. This is how we educate Louisiana. I'll stop there because I don't want to take anything away from the incredible work that these people have done to create an environment where more students succeed, not fewer.
You know, you're really just going to build on me. But, you know, you're going to call me to the table. But what I will say is some of the examples that you guys mentioned, what's so incredible, even about the one living in the car, right? Is that it's that lived experience that makes them better professionals, particularly in healthcare, where they are primarily providing service and culturally sensitive care, right, to the most disenfranchised in our community. So the diversity matters not just for representation's sake, but certainly for the innovation and the lived experience that you bring to the quality of care you provide.
If I may, please, this is Mr. Durrett. I would also make sure that we are including diversity. I appreciate that, but also I want to make sure as well that there are some individuals who are deaf, who are in the nursing field. And I'm wondering if your program has a plan to assist the disability community. I'm seeing in, there's other field that will, for example, refuse interpreting services, will refuse to teach deaf students. So how are you addressing this issue that we're facing in our state?
I would like to jump in on that as a sister of someone who is hearing impaired, and she's also a registered nurse today. There are tools that are in place that may not be widely known about, but the stethoscope, there are things that we can do to assist our students in order to make the technical skills required. And so I'm thrilled to share that with you, Matt. So Supervisor Durrett. So thank you so much for that. We do what we can, and we certainly want the hearing impaired to be able to function as a nurse. And so if my sister were here right now, she would be jumping up and down.
Very good. Other comments or questions?
I just want to say one comment. I love the idea of the dual enrollment. That's not something it was ever an option from my country in Venezuela. And I feel like some of these students, they struggle, their parents are not in the best situation. And just the fact that they can actually graduate from high school with a certification that they can jump into the workforce, that is amazing. And I know from firsthand, my husband's niece, she's in 10th grade, if I'm not mistaken, she's 16, and she's overly excited the fact that she's going to be taking a class at Fletcher and have 5 credits. She's not sure how that works. She don't know what the credits are for, but she's looking forward to have those credits.
Okay, we'll clarify that for her.
And she actually sent me a picture of the pamphlet about the summer camp at Fletcher. And she's like, what is this? I'm like, I will ask because I am not sure, but you definitely need to go. Like, I will bring you if I have to. She is beyond excited about all these opportunities doing a dual enrollment. And I have personally motivated, I'm kind of biased about her going to Fletcher because it's my school and I love my school. And I just find it's amazing the work you're doing. She's currently a student at HL in Homa. She's kind of worried that she will be transferred to Assumption and they do not have that program anymore. Or I don't know if they reinstated again. And I don't know if that's something you're looking into it whenever you mention calling different districts and stuff like that. If eventually schools that they stop offering the program after COVID, if they will reinstate it. Because she's definitely worried about that part.
And I'm excited that she's excited. I'm excited that we're doing this. And I got to tell you, we rolled this out. We tried to roll it out as a small pilot, Dr. Sullivan, but we kept getting phone calls from districts, and then the districts declaring, like in Dr. Tenney's case, we want this. And so if there's a district out there, we do encourage them to reach out to the local community college to see if there's an opportunity, because we're excited about offering it. We need more nurses. And so anything that we can do to help support that makes me happy.
Madam Chair, members of the board, sorry to take as much time as we did in the board development session, but I think this is an important one. This is one that I can't think of a community that is not impacted by this discussion. So to the nursing deans, to the vice chancellors, to our chancellors, thank you to each one of you for being willing to step up to the plate and find a way to make it work for people. Thank you very much. And to Dr. Palermo, thank you for your work. Very good.
Great job.
With that, Madam Chair, I will turn back to you for today's agenda.
All right. Board members, we're now at the general action items, and I'd like to call on Supervisor Tim Hardy to present the academic action item for consideration for the board.
I would be honored. The first is academics accreditation update. That's for board information only.
So Supervisor Hardy, I welcome Chancellor Spillers to also join us at the table. So I think I'll go ahead and get started. So if you will, if you'll allow it. I am not Chancellor Sawtelle. As you've heard, he is in the throes of a SAC COC visit. So I have been tasked to provide an update. I have been keeping in communication with him through text and phone call, even as early as this morning. Their candidacy committee visit is in process. It's in progress. Yes, I mean, Monday, our team flew in and they will continue their visit yesterday. It was, as you can imagine, it was fast and furious per the chancellor, and today is no exception. They are on their way to the various rural campuses as we speak. Just a reminder, the report of the candidacy committee will be reviewed by SAC COC Board of Trustees at its next meeting in June. And just a reminder, Dr. Sullivan, that a few of our board members have volunteered for a 1 o'clock Zoom, so we'll hurry. When the SAC's Board of Trustees grants candidacy, it will authorize the accreditation committee visit. And then from there, CLTCC can schedule a visit as soon as that they've been determined that they'll meet the required additional standards. And then CLTCC shares that they plan to schedule that visit as soon as possible. So I'll pause there.
Very good. I'll turn to Chancellor Spillers.
Is that on?
Yeah.
Good. Good morning, Dr. Sullivan, Chair Mount, and the board members. I'm very jealous of Central right now, but I'm certainly wishing them very well and hope to learn from their experience. I did get an opportunity to get an update from Ms. Shard. We are next in the queue. She is finishing up with one right now, and her hope is that she'll be able to Zoom with me by June the 1st. She said, don't hold her feet to the fire on that, but that is her plan.
So just for the sake of the board, Dr. Ann Shard is the person who reviews all candidacy applications for SACs. Given the fact that she's now kind of given a time frame, what that really tells us is she's going to begin to review that application. And obviously, one of the other big hurdles that was cleared this past week, we don't have formal notice yet, but we feel really good about where we are with the legislative audit report. So
Yes.
very soon we should be able to move forward with that SACs discussion. Exciting to see the movement. So
Yes,
congratulations.
it's great. Thank you very much. And, we're also in the process of other certifications going on. This is our year for those accreditation processes. We do have our COE coming up. That'll be September 5th through the 8th. And we are about to have our APME, which is our instrumentation one. That's going to be April 23rd through 25th. So y'all just keep us in prayers.
We will.
Doing great work. Thank you, guys. And prayers up for the folks at Central. We know that we hope for a great report from that group. So thank you for the work. Mr. Chair, we can move on to item number 2 now.
Item number 2 is retirement of LCTCS policy 1.046, delegated authority relating to GRAD Act.
Sure, Mr. Chair, I'm glad to read this one. Staff recommends that the board accept the retirement of the LCTCS policy 1.046, delegated authority related to the GRAD Act. Hallelujah.
Yes.
Do I have a motion? Is there a second? It's moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Are there objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item, revision to LCTCS policy 2.018, campus-free expression.
Dr. Amber Blair has joined us and will give us an update on this item.
Good morning. You'll remember that this is just a technical edit for this policy to incorporate definitions from the legislative session in 2022. And I'll read the recommendation. Staff recommends that the board approve amendments to LCTCS policy 2.018, campus free expression.
You have heard the recommendation. Is there a motion?
Motion by Ms. McConduit, second by Mr. Salah.
Is there any discussion? Are there objections? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item, revision of LCTCS policy 9.001, power-based violence / sexual misconduct.
Again, this is another technical edit to incorporate an expansion of the definition of employee to be in compliance. The recommendation is that staff recommends the board approve amendments to LCTCS policy 9.001, power-based violence, sexual misconduct.
You have heard the recommendation. Is there any discussion? Is there a motion?
Motion by Mr. Salah, second by Ms. Bradford.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or the objections? Hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hardy. Next, we'll call on Supervisor Salah to present the facilities action item for consideration by the board.
Thank you, Chairman. The facilities action items for consideration of the cooperative endeavor agreement between LCTCS on behalf of Baton Rouge Community College and Gulf State Toyota.
Yes, sir. Good morning. First, I want to thank Dr. Sullivan for cutting the facilities actions by half. So we'll breeze through this fairly quickly. BRCC is wanting to engage or do a CEA with Gulf State Toyota for them to lease some space at the Ardendale campus. This is a 3-year lease for $77,000 a year, where basically they will provide professional development to BRCC. They'll do student test prepping, donate Toyota engines and so forth. So it helps further expand and develop the Ardendale site specific to Toyota. Consequently, staff recommends that the board authorize the president and the chancellor of Baton Rouge Community College to negotiate and complete all of the requirements necessary to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement between the college and Gulf State Toyota to provide automotive training for Toyota technicians throughout the Baton Rouge metropolitan area and surrounding parishes.
You heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
The motion by Mr. Jackson, second by Ms. McConduit.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, then the motion carries. The second item is the authorization.
Yeah, we already did that one.
That's right.
Yeah.
We did that one.
All right, next we'll have Supervisor Jackson present the finance action items for consideration by the board.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First item, revisions to LCTCS policy number 2.005, student organizations and SGA.
Yes, sir. So as you may recall, at the last meeting, we brought this for review and advisement, and it's fitting and coincidental at the same time that this policy is one that is being brought forward for action today as a result of an audit report that was issued by internal audit by Mike Redmond and his group about 6 months ago. And basically the audit report recommended that we go back and look at this policy. Well, they didn't recommend that we specifically go to this policy, but they recommended that we provide greater oversight over student organizations, given that the policy was very dated. It was 20 years old, and obviously it was time for revision, so which is what we have done. And mainly some of the high points of it is that it provides for a better framework for monitoring student organizations as they start up, and more importantly, what happens when they ever terminate, cease operations. So staff recommends that the board approve the revisions to the attached policy 2.005, student organizations and SGA.
Thank you. You've heard the recommendation from staff. Is there a motion?
Motion by Ms. Jimenez, second by Ms. Bradford.
Is there any discussion? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion carries. Next item, cooperative endeavor agreement between Bossier Parish Community College and Stevenson Stellar Corporation.
Yes, sir. As occasionally is the case, colleges will enter into CEAs or contracts in some cases to help get specialized training or expertise. And in this case, BIPC is wanting to do a CEA with Stevenson Stellar Corporation to provide cybersecurity maturity certification training or curriculum development, that is, for them to be able to then take that curriculum and do the training themselves. Any contract or CEA over $150,000 requires board action, which is why we're bringing it to you for action, since this one has a maximum fee of $167,600. Staff recommends that the board approve a cooperative endeavor agreement between Bossier Parish Community College and Stephenson Stellar Corporation effective January 1, 2023 through June 30th of 2023. This CEA is subject to the approval of state procurement.
Thank you, Joe. You've heard the recommendation from staff. Is there a motion?
Motion by Ms. Bradford, second by Mr. Hardy.
Any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, the motion carries.
Thank you, Supervisor Jackson. I'll ask Supervisor Tim Hardy to present the personnel action items for consideration by the board.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First item is revision to LCTCS policy 6.010, performance evaluation and salary increases.
Yes, sir. And before we go into this, so there's 3 items that are HR policy related that I'd like to kind of lay a little bit of a framework to them. Some of these policies are very old and dated, needing to be approved. But more importantly, while we have 12 separate colleges, 12 separate entities, all of the delegated authority given to those colleges comes from this board. Ultimately, the board is the appointing authority for all of our colleges. You are the board that is the one that will be sued if there's any issues involved. You are the one who award degrees, diploma certificates, and so forth. All power flows from the board to our colleges. Even the appropriation, believe it or not, is to the LCTCS board, not to our colleges. Legally, you are one entity. And as such, it's to our benefit and protection to have a unified system of policies that govern HR matters. In this case, we've got 3 coming before you today. One of them through the HR group, and the other through the student academic affairs folks, the chief academic officers related to faculty and so forth. So the first item before you is for review and advisement. It's 6.010, which is related to the employees and staffs of our colleges. Again, it provides greater uniformity across all of them, keeping in mind that we do have some employees who, in some cases, will work and operate at 2 colleges and so forth. So we need to have that uniformity across all our colleges, as with our faculty as well.
Joe, that is not for review and advisement. That is an action item.
Oh, is it?
For
Sorry.
Yes.
6.010.
Oh, I'm sorry. That one is.
Yes.
The other 2 coming are not. So I'm sorry. And this one, again, was brought to you at the last meeting for review and advisement, again, for action on this one.
Is there a motion?
Is that motion by Ms. Butler McIntyre?
Do I have a second?
And a second by Mr. Jackson.
Is there any discussion? Are there objections? Hearing none, that motion carries. The next item is for review and advisement. And that's new LCTCS policy 6.501, faculty workload.
Yes, sir. As stated, this one is for review and advisement, as is the second one. The faculty workload has been an item that has been kind of out there, but not necessarily formalized in a sense. So this provides a framework to define full-time employment, release time for office hours. It also provides a framework for overload, so to speak, so that again, it provides a framework to operate and manage faculty. So again, just submitted for review and advisement, not for action. That will be at a later point in time at May.
Okay. And one last item.
Yes, sir. This is 6.502 being submitted for review and advisement. Again, this as well, even though we had a policy in place, we're pulling this one out from the staff, unclassified staff policy that we had in place and making it its own separate policy, again, to provide greater focus for faculty to be able to look at it and kind of go through and see how it applies to them. Again, it provides for a uniform evaluation instrument that has been discussed among all the faculty senate presidents and approved by all of them. And again, provides also some frameworks for how you evaluate and what you're supposed to document if you document a performance appraisal greater than 3. Again, just for review and advisement.
Madam Chair, that concludes the personnel action items. Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
At this time, I request a motion to enter into executive session. Is there a motion?
The motion by Mr. Salat, second by Ms. Bradford.
We have a motion and a second. At this time, I will request Ms. Klein-Peter to take a roll call vote to enter into executive session.
Yes, sir. Board members, reminder, this is a yes or no vote to enter executive session. Supervisor Mount,
Yes.
Supervisor Jackson,
Yes.
Supervisor Bradford,
Yes.
Supervisor Butler McIntyre, Supervisor Hardy,
Yes.
Supervisor McConduit, Supervisor Murphy,
Yes.
Supervisor Salah,
Yes.
Supervisor Durrett,
Yes.
Supervisor Jimenez.
Yes.
Members of the board, you are in executive session at 12:16 PM. Please report to the executive session room as timely as possible. I call the meeting back to order. Brandon, can you go back live on YouTube? Thanks.
Hey, Sarah, you ready?
Ready.
Okay. All right. We'll reconvene the meeting and state that no votes were taken, no consensus was reached during the executive committee.
And I will call a roll to reestablish a quorum.
Yes,
Willie Mount,
present.
Chip Jackson,
Present.
Tari Bradford,
Present.
Cynthia Butler McIntyre,
Here.
Tim Hardy,
Present.
Erica McConduit, Mike Murphy,
Present.
Stan Salah,
Present.
Matt Durrett is present. Francesca
Present.
Jimenez is present. Madam Chairwoman, we do have a quorum of the board present.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Klein Peters. Supervisor Tim Hardy, you want to present the personnel action items for consideration of the board?
Yes. Number 12, appointment of acting director of internal audit.
Thank you, sir. Provide the recommendation. Staff recommends the board appoint Mr. Jeffrey Fleming as Acting Director of Internal Audit effective April 17, 2023 through June 26 of 2023, or until a permanent replacement is found for the position. This recommendation includes an annualized base salary increase of $8,400, resulting in a base annualized salary of $115,000.
We need a motion.
We do need a motion. Is there a motion by Mr. Salath and a second by Mr. Jackson?
Is there discussion? Or are there objections? Hearing none, motion carries.
Jeff, congratulations.
Next item, pending and potential litigation.
We heard from council as to a number of pending and potential litigation items and none that require action by the board today.
Thank you. Back to you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you, Supervisor Hardy. Please notice the updates and just encourage you to review that information concerning alternative financing projects, the personnel action items, and status report. Other business.
Madam Chairwoman, I'd like to note for the record, there have been no requests for public comment.
Thank you. Please note at where you're sitting, there should be a commencement schedule, and we hope that you'll plan to attend some or at least those that you live nearby. That would be wonderful. Also, May 15th is the deadline for our financial disclosure. And Michael Redmond will not be reminding us, so hopefully Mr. Fleming will every day. And also make sure to complete your training. Many of you remember we had the deadline for December 31st. I think we do have a couple of individuals who may still need to do that. So I just can't emphasize that enough. And other than that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Ms. Butler McIntyre, a second by Ms. Jimenez, and the meeting is adjourned at 1:13
All right.
p.m.
Yeah. Hey.
Members of the board, lunch is available for you.